Good morning, Ayasma Agachita, our monastic guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Su Chen.
And I'm Li Ming.
We are your hosts for this 3-day program called Dhamma Therapy 2024. A total of 180 participants hailing from various states of Malaysia and overseas have registered for this inaugural Dhamma Therapy 2024 workshop, organized by Sasana Raka Buddhist Sanctuary of Taiping. Welcome, everyone. To kick off this event, let us hear from the initiator of Dhamma Therapy, Mr. Frank Ong, on why we have this program and what are the motivation and objectives of organizing this event. Let me give a short introduction of Frank. He has had 4 stents inserted in his coronary heart arteries throughout his 27 years of corporate career. He also suffered from bouts of depression. While recovering, Frank started a quest to understand and overcome physical and mental ailments which brought him to all over the world, including to various monasteries and forest temples. After many years of seeking, he finally resolved his issues through alternative techniques and therapies. Frank has been living without any medication for over 10 years, which is medically impossible after coronary stenting. Yeah? So now let's welcome Frank to share why Dhamma therapy.
Okay. Good morning, Bante. Good morning, Venerable. Before I start off, I would like to give you a bit history on how this came about. I retired back to Taipei 10 years ago. I was based in Singapore. And for 8 years, I was trying to meet Bante Agachita, but I could not meet him. I just met Bante on the 28th of September last year. After that, I joined Bante's retreat in November. I read a book that was translated by Bante called Dhamma Therapy. And the book basically speaks about how people were being treated and got healed through holistic treatment in a center in Myanmar. I then approached Bante to discuss about sharing this to the general day public. It's only in end January that we finally managed to fix a date, and Bante recommended a lot of speakers to participate in this event. So we had only 5 weeks to prepare, considering there's 2 weeks of Chinese New Year in between. So if there's anything that we have overlooked, please forgive us. But I hope that we can all learn something about this. As what the moderator have mentioned, I have gone through 4 depressions, had 4 stents in my coronary arteries from 15 years ago. In the medical science, after stenting, there's 3 medicines that you have to take, which is blood thinner, cholesterol, and high blood pressure. I was taking those medicine for years, but it comes with a lot of side effects. You know, all Western medicine has side effects. After being treated by the best psychiatrists and doctors in Singapore, I keep having that relapses. It's 1 depression, then 1 stent, depression, 1 stent. I realized that maybe there's an alternative. I was living a very healthy life, exercising, eating healthily, but it keeps coming. That was when then I decided to travel around the world to find an alternative solution. This is what I would like to share in this talk. My expertise is probably in depression because I've gone through 4 times, So The psychiatrists will basically evaluate the patient based on a series of questions. Then they will then rate them from 1 to 10. The higher the number, the more severe the depression is. And the danger about depression is that it always have a tendency of relapse. If you go beyond 10, then they categorize you as schizophrenia, CLL, you know, where you start hearing voices already, okay? That is a little bit description about what depression is all about. Now, I am not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I have many years of depression experience. So I can only share with you what depression is all about, what goes through the mind of a person who is having depression. The last thing that we should say to a person who is having depression is, be strong, be positive. Because if they could be strong and positive, they would have gotten out of the depression. So they can't. So let me share a bit insight about what a depressive mind is all about. A person in depression is always full of negativity. Now, if you have encountered anyone who has depression, when you talk to them, it's always negative things that's only coming out from their mouth. All this negativity will create a lot of hopelessness. At the end of the day, they will see that, oh, everything is hopeless, you know, and I will never get out of this situation. The situation will never change. It will just get worse and worse. And depression, all these thoughts will lead to suicidal thoughts. Depression is the only illness today that people kill themselves. When you get cancer, leukemia, you don't kill yourself. Imagine how much does it take for a person to jump off a building, to hang themselves or whatever. It is very probably the most suffering illness that anyone could go through that can cause them to kill themselves, to commit suicide. No other illnesses do. Depression should not be underrated. It is the most suffering illness that anyone can go through. I will elaborate. This word, Chinese word, sing, to me was the most important thing that I've discovered through my travels. The Chinese word sing is shaped like a heart with 3 arteries. Now, our heart actually have 1 main artery on the right side and 2 on the left side. But what interesting thing about this word sing, that it also means mind. It means heart and mind. But if you go and research further, a lot of languages have only 1 word to describe heart and mind. In Japanese, it's called kokoro. It also means heart and mind. In Sanskrit, chitta, Pali, chitta also means heart and mind. If you go into, let's say, our Malay word, hati. Hati also means heart and mind. Hati tidak tenang, hati sakit. Interestingly, when we were young, our parents, when their mind is troubled, they will say, oh, why sim chi now lon? They tend to point here, at the heart. Why not pointing at the head or here, but it points here. This was what got me interested, to find what is the correlation between the heart and the mind, because I had depression, which is a mind illness, and I have blocks, which is heart illnesses. And each time when I had the depression, I get a block, subsequently. So there has to be this correlation. Even though being an English educated, the only Chinese word I know is this. But I was very intrigued by the shape of the word and how precise it is, with the 1 main arteries on the right and 2 main arteries on the left. These are the arteries that flow outside our heart that supply blood into the heart. This was what it led me to wanting to discover more. When modern medication could not stop me from having relapse in depression and blockages, I need to find an alternative way. And this was the start of the quest. What I wanted to do was to find the correlation between the mind and the heart. You see, in the Western medical journal, they always point the mind to the brain. But interesting enough, the mind is not a matter. It's not something that you can see, you can touch. There's two things in the Western medicine that have never been written about it. One is the mind, because in Western, you need to have something that I can see, I can touch, I can feel, I can measure. So mind is not tangible. And the other thing is energy. Energy is also not tangible. So there has never been a single book written in the modern medical journal about mind. The modern medical tend to associate it with the brain, whereas Eastern seems to associate more with the heart. There's a correlation. I wanted to find what is the correlation. And when I was in Bhutan, I went there alone to look for answers. I met a Lama. All he told me was just this. I says, I keep having depression. I keep having a heart problem. You know, what causes this? What causes this? And all he told me was this. A healthy mind equals to a healthy heart. That was very interesting. Short statement, but it was a very profound meaning to me. When a person is in depression, what do they feel? So most of us, we probably do not know what does a person in depression feel. What makes it so terrible that they cannot live a normal life, they cannot get off bed, you know. They actually have these 4 emotions in them: worries, suffer, anxiety, and fear. What they have is this constant 4 emotions. Now, imagine if we have only 1 or 2 of this emotion during the whole day, it's already bad enough. But to have 4, that is unbearable, you know. So that is why people tend to commit suicide, because it is very unbearable. There's this constant worry, sadness, anxiety, fear. So how do you constitute someone who has depression? If someone has a constant worry, sadness, anxiety, or fear, in modern day medical, more than 2 weeks, you're falling into a depression. That's how the modern medical science will determine it. So this is a bit of insight. What does a person feel when they have depression? Just now I spoke about this. This is what they are. It's full of negativity, hopelessness, and then suicidal. A person with depression, what they have is they have this constant thought, and some of us also, I'm sure we have, when we have certain worries, they have this constant thought that keeps repeating itself. It's like a broken record. You know, it keeps repeating itself. Then you know what happened? A small problem will be exaggerated until they become delusional about it. Even though for normal people, it will seem that it's a very small problem. But for them, because it keeps repeating itself, it becomes exaggerate the situation until they can be quite delusional about it, okay? So that is what a person in depression is going through. Actually, what I discover is a person who is in depression has no control of his or her mind. It's the mind that's controlling them fully. Absolutely no control of their mind. So all these thoughts will keep coming and exaggerating, themselves. The next 3 chart is quite interesting. This is a statistic done by IPSOS. IPSOS is one of the world's most reputable market research. The Malaysian government assigned IPSOS to do a study about Malaysian mental health situation. This study is very recent, is until 2023. I will show you the statistics. Mental health is currently recognized as the most significant health issue globally and in Malaysia, more serious than corona, obesity, diabetes, smoking, cancer, heart disease, drug abuse. Very few people know about this, but it's the most serious illness. And personally, I think the number should be much higher because many Asians don't report mental illnesses. When you have some problem, you say, simple, we don't go see doctors. The Westerner, anytime they got a small little problem, they will go and see a psychiatrist. We don't go see psychiatrists, so there's a lot of unreported cases. I just had a friend whose daughter is a medical student, now attached in Tanjung Rambutan. So I just asked her 2 days ago, hey, what is the number of patients? He said, it's full. It's completely full, more than 1,000. They have only a capacity of about 1,000 plus. They have more than 1,000 people there. And it's getting younger and younger. And when you go Tanjung Rambutan, it means you're already schizophrenia, not depression. That is why mental illness is today the most significant illness, more serious than cancer, heart attack, or any other illnesses. And these numbers possibly does not include many people who don't report it. So I just want to let you all some understanding on how seriousness mental issue is. If you look at the next chart, globally, mental issue has become the most serious illness. WHO actually a few years ago ranked mental illness, depression, as number 3rd most serious illnesses in the world. But most people believe it's already number 1 because Asians don't report. This is a case, this is not a small illness, but the most significant illness, not only in Malaysia, but worldwide. And the danger that is affecting younger and younger people. This is a very shocking statistic. What is the objective about this Dhamma therapy? There is a saying in Singapore, we can afford to die, we cannot afford to be sick. I'm sure some of you, if today you go to a private hospital for 2 weeks of cancer treatment, it's $100,000. Now, insurance play a big role in that. Because of the insurance, most people have insurance. Once you go into a private hospital, they will run all kinds of tests. And there will be a lot of procedures. Some may not be necessary. The objective of this, to let people know, hey, there is alternative beside Western medical. Also, you learn first of all to understand the causes of mental and physical illness. In my case, it was just a very, very disruptive mind. When I learned to cultivate my mental health, and the only way that I know that's effective was through meditation. What happened was this: after practicing a few years, I told my doctors that I'm stopping all my medicine. I used to take 16 pills a day. 16 pills a day. When I told my doctor that I'm stopping all my medicine, my blood thinners, my cholesterol, and my high blood pressure, one doctor gave me 3 months to live, another gave me 6 months to live. And I'm still around after 12 years. I wouldn't encourage you to do this, But what I experienced is basically this, that every single medication today, Western medication, is all chemical driven. Every single one, even Panadol, has side effect. When you take Panadol, what happens? You feel sleepy. Everything. If we were to take the vaccine jab every month, I think probably we start to grow horns or so, The thing is that it treats the symptom, but it also creates a lot of side effect. And there's not a single medicine that doesn't have side effects. So what we want to do, we learn to understand the causes of mental and physical illness. Western medicine tend to go to the treating the symptom, which is good. Sometimes we need. If you are very sick, I would advise please go seek modern doctor's help, So they still play a very important role. But what I was very interested was, did you see the first quote by Hippocrates, the father of medicine? He says, natural healing is the greatest force in us in getting well. That is what I wanted people to understand, causes of mental and physical illness. We have all experienced natural healing without realizing it. What happened is this. In the modern medical research, they found 3 main causes of illnesses: food, lack of sleep, and stress. We have often gone through flu, or when we feel sick, we don't see doctor. Sometimes we pop one Panadol. But what happened when you have some of these illnesses? First, you lose appetite. You stop eating. So your body actually go into some kind of a fasting mode. Second thing, you sleep a lot. Third thing, you don't think so much. 3-4 days later, you're okay already. I think we all have gone through that. And there's a lot of major illnesses that also has no medication and the body cells heal, like dengue. Dengue is one, there's no medicine. Even COVID. When you get COVID, also your body cells heal. So now we want to explore other chronic illnesses. But more important is to learn how to cultivate mental and physical health. Don't wait until you get sick try to cultivate yourself so that you can be healthier. That's the second objective. And then learn about natural healing. I was very interested when I see my dogs and all those, they don't go and see doctor one. Every time when they're sick, they just eat some grass, but after that they're okay one, you know. For us, including myself, to learn more about natural healing. Because even the father of medicine claimed that natural healing is the greatest force in us of getting well. But if you are too sick, please go see a doctor, okay? The fourth objective is to practice self-cultivation and holistic treatment. At the end of the day, we need to put in the effort. Whatever you learn in theory, you don't put into practical, nothing happens. So we need to cultivate ourselves. We need to cultivate ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually for some. Like the saying goes, you know, I think the last line is actually a quote from Bhante. Prevention by natural means is better than cure by any means. So the focus is learn to cultivate yourself. Do the preventive. But if you are already sick, there is an alternative beside Western medicine. That is the whole purpose of this talk. Thank you. I think I shall end here.
Thank you, Frank, for the concise and also explanation on why we have this Dhamma therapy. And he links it back to the root cause of all these physical and mental illness, which they have very close relationship between the physical and the mental aspects. So now I'd like to open this session to question and answer. You may ask questions to Frank and by holding up your hand. And please come forward, and our usher will give the microphone for you to ask your question. There is one here.
Hi Frank, I also have depression. I also went to Singapore, also went to see the most expensive and the best doctors in the US and all. So I'm curious, you mentioned you take 16 medications, right?
16 pills. Yeah.
Can you share like what are the pills that you took?
Okay.
The name of them?
Okay. I took a lot of antidepressant.
Such as?
From Xanax, Wellbutrin, you know, more than a dozen until, you know, I think I've tested out. But as you know, all antidepressants have very bad side effects. One thing that I've taken is a lot of antidepressant, blood thinners, high cholesterol, high blood pressure.
I took Wellbutrin as well, so I understand. And I realized one thing is that they misdiagnosed me with depression, but it's actually my problem is ADHD, which is executive function, which they are not. But anyway, thanks for sharing. I just want to know some details about the exact journey and depression, because also just one thing is that depression and schizophrenia is a different thing. It's a different mental health condition.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Then we have the next person. Please come forward and we will bring the microphone to you.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for a very interesting introduction. My name is Ao Yong. You mentioned about 3 things that affects a person's health: food, sleep, and stress.
Yes.
Can you please elaborate a little bit more on food? Because food is very important. We eat every day. So I'd like to know what kind of food that we should be eating in general, so that we will be on the right path, right healthy path.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Good. I think first of all, the 3 factors that causes illness is not from me, it's from medical research. What they have found is that these are the 3 causes. And coming to what's right, food, I think some of the speakers and possibly Bhante can elaborate much more in detail on that. So you will be able to hear from them better. They have been practicing that. Probably they can go into details. On my part, I think there's only 2 ways. First, you can either focus on what's right to eat. This is my personal thought. Or eating the right way. Now, I prefer the second path, eating the right way. To me, it's more sustainable. What I do, I eat 1 meal a day most of the time. And I don't eat after midday, following the 8 precepts for the last 10 over years. That has made me very healthy. Because when I tried to focus on what's right to eat, it was very difficult for me. When I tried to do vegetarian, some hawker places don't have. So I rather go back to eating the right way. One quote from the sutta that actually, to me, is very true and means a lot. When the Buddha says, when you eat in moderation, all your illnesses, all the ailments disappear, you grow old slowly, you prolong your life. I think that's what the Buddha have taught. And to me, that actually helps. I have not have any pills or any medication for more than 10 years. My health has improved drastically. I chose the second part on the right way to eat. But I think what's right to eat, we can hear from the speaker later. Yeah.
Good morning.
Hi.
I have 3 questions.
Okay.
The first question is, after all this they've gone through, what is your current state of mind? Is it the state of emotions? The second one is, you brought up 2 questions. So can I just run through the 3 questions?
Okay.
It's all connected. So the second one is, you mentioned about the food we eat, and the second one I can't remember. The third one, I was thinking, is also the environment. Nowadays we have the we have electronics that is creating all these issues also that we also have to be mindful of. And the third question is, for the layman, since you're the event initiator, what is the understanding of Dhamma therapy?
Okay.
Thank you.
I think the state of mind, when I compare what I was when I was in depression, it's truly worlds apart, I was completely not in control of my mind. But after learning how to cultivate mental health through meditation, you start by calming the mind, tame the mind, then control the mind. Now it becomes completely different. Now whatever thoughts that come, it doesn't goes around like a broken dead record. You let it go and it disappears. So that is the biggest transformation. So from a very destructive mind, it becomes very constructive. You see, anything that is very destructive in nature, the mind is said to be one of the most powerful things. I'll give you an example, nuclear. Nuclear can be very constructive or destructive. If not taken care, it can be very destructive. But if it's under control, it's very constructive. It produces a lot of energy. Now, to me, the mind is like that. If the mind becomes uncontrollable, it becomes very destructive until people can kill themselves. But when it is controlled, it becomes very constructive. A big problem becomes a small problem or no problem. That is the power of the mind. I forgot the second question. I think about food one, the one we want.
Yeah, she's talking about environment plays another factor.
Yeah, I think definitely, why I chose, I've lived in many big cities all over the world, but I chose to retire back in Taipei 10 years ago. To me, it was a very conducive. KL have a different kind of jungle, it's concrete, but Taipei, we have real jungles, I think environment definitely play a big role,
Yeah, I remember when I first met Frank, he mentioned, we were in Taipei, he says, this is the place where we can go from anywhere to anywhere within 10 minutes.
Yes.
I'll take an online question now. While the floor, you are free to raise your hand and get ready to ask your question. This is question from the Google Drive. What is the difference between worry and anxiety in regards to depressive emotion?
Okay. Worry in Hokkien, we call kek sima. Anxiety, I can't speak other language but Hokkien. Kanchong, kanchong. Kanchong, So that's the difference. You're always constantly kanchong. Because worry, you basically, you just worry about things, but kanchong, so that is how I would distinguish them.
Okay, we'll invite another person to ask your question.
Brother Frank, sadhu for sharing. I have got last 2 questions because the others has been answered. I have 3 stands way back in 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm interested in what kind of exercise do you do?
Okay. Well, I am actually a very lazy person. I haven't exercised for 30 years already. Okay. So, not physically, but I exercise mentally every day. And I think the mental exercise that I only do is meditation. So most people focus on physical exercise, but personally I focus on mental exercise. Like I said, a Lama once told me a healthy mind is a healthy heart. And that itself actually means a lot of things. So if I were to cultivate my mind, and I believe, and so far I know for a fact for the last 10 years, I don't think, I've only visited doctor twice. Once I got dengue, once I got chikungunya, but that's external thing. But beyond that, I think when your mind is healthy physically, you will see improvement there as well.
But when you exercise, your mind is also quite healthy.
I think exercise is good, but I'm just lazy. I haven't exercised for 30 years already, so.
I focus more on exercise, really tough exercise until my heart beat like very fast. So I felt that is good for me.
Yeah, but I think there's one part you probably have to do some research. Now you see exercise is very good for fitness. But the question that we need to ask ourselves is fitness equals to health?
Yeah, okay.
Because what we are seeing every day, a lot of people playing badminton, jogging, if fitness actually really equals to health, the world-class athletes should have lived to 100 over years.
Right.
But if you look, most of them actually. So, but anyway, that's just my personal view.
Okay.
Definitely has a lot of benefit.
Yeah.
But to correlate fitness to health, maybe that one, I think we really have to check it out.
Yeah,
fitness is fitness. Yeah.
One more question before I go.
Yeah.
Have you been back to the doctor to check whether your
yes.
stents and all is
Yeah,
okay?
I had to do yearly checkout to convince. You see, the reason why I chose to give up all my medication, first of all, I believe that it works, but I need to convince myself further. I really need, and by putting my life, but after practicing a few years, I'm quite convinced. I stopped all my medication gradually. What I've seen, hey, there is no effect. But I wouldn't encourage anyone to do this because medically they will say you have to take this for life, your blood thinner.
Yeah.
But I was suffering from side effects from the blood thinner. Yeah. And one of them was memory loss.
I will follow up with you later personally. Thank you.
Morning, Frank, everyone. Me and Frank, we were from the same hometown. We even attended the same school. We are same age. And being in the same environment that we grew up in, I cannot really imagine how that you can get into the kind of depression 4 times. Wow. That you had to go through the kind of procedure. Can you enlighten me what are the causes or cause? And from there maybe we can understand how to prevent that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So maybe I'll give a little bit background. I'm an oil trader. I was an oil trader for almost 30 years. Now, oil trading basically is a very stressful job, just like any other job, but probably more because it involves billions of dollars every day. I was fortunate. I have a very good job, pays me very well. The children are very well, very nice. Everything was nice. I have more than any man could ever ask. But what causes me to have depression? Now, depression always have to have a trigger. They always have to have something that causes depression. It could be the death of a loved one, financial loss, or romance, or something. Something has got to trigger it. My first depression was when my father passed away. So I couldn't accept it. That was the trigger of my first depression. The second depression that I had was when I was in between jobs, 6 months. So the children were young, things like that, then you worry about the future. Third one was like a relationship problem. There has always got to be something to trigger depression. And mostly money, relationship, death of a loved one, loss of a job. So these are the trigger of the depression.
Thank you. We'll take one question online, then we'll come back to the floor. Yeah? So this question asks, how important it is good companionship in your journey, Frank, in combating this disease, or did you do it alone?
The problem when a person has depression, the loved one, most of the time, we do not know how to talk to them. And like I said earlier, if you tell them, be strong, forget about things, don't worry, that is the worst advice we can give. Because if they can do that, they already got out of depression already. So sometimes the good advice becomes a bad their advice. And I had many support from friends who traveled with me to another country and saw the state that I'm in. The danger about depression is this. Because you are filled with so much negativity, you can start to affect your loved one, those people nearby. Because you're always talking about negative things only, and they will want to eventually stay away from you. When I had my last depression, I already knew about meditation, but I couldn't meditate because the mind was out of control. I had to embark on a journey on my own because nobody had gone through that many depression to teach me how to get out of a depression. So I didn't have anybody to teach me the way to get out. I had to embark a journey going from monastery to monastery, but what I found was the importance of cultivating mental health. And the only way that so far that I know, if you know of any other way, please let me know, is only meditation. I do not know of any other way to cultivate mental health. It was a journey done alone, basically.
Thank you. So I guess our guest here, you are not alone, because Frank here is the initiator of this Dhamma therapy. So we are here together to explore the therapies, the many types of therapies. So, okay, next question.
Good morning, Brother Frank, everybody else. You talk a lot about mental illnesses, and Alzheimer disease is really another up, and many people are getting it. And unfortunately, one of my sisters got it too. And negativity leads to depression, leads to suicidal. So in her case, I suppose there was depression and so on, but now she's an Alzheimer patient. I also met another lady whose sister was a schizophrenia patient, eventually committed suicide by jumping off from her condo. So my question is, have you, in your many research, have you met of any Alzheimer's disease patient being suicidal?
Okay. I think
Thank you.
That's a very interesting question. It reminds me of one Chinese saying. Maybe this one I can speak in Cantonese also. In Chinese, we say, Sim Pe Bo Yo Yi. Have you heard? I think Cantonese, Sam Peng Mo Yo Yi. On my personal research, what I identify is there is 7 kinds of Sampeng. 3 is physical, 4 is mental. Basically, heart attack, stroke, cancer, physical. Then you got depression, dementia, Alzheimer, and maybe Parkinson. These are the mental aspect. The Chinese saying is quite interesting, Sim Pe Bo Yo Yi. Sampeng Mo Yo Yi. There is not a single medicine that you can take to cure any of these illnesses. What you could do when you're taking antidepressant is just to prevent you from getting worse only. It doesn't cure you, and it comes with a lot of side effects. As far as Alzheimer, I am not very sure, but what I noticed personally, again on my partner, when I was on antidepressant is also known as blood thinner is also known as statin. Now, statin is suspected as one of the causes for dementia. These are the medicine. Today, if you use logic, again, this is only my personal view. Any single pill that you take, it has got a side effect. Even you take Panadol, it makes you sleepy. But these are the pills that you have to take every single day for the rest of your life. It will be a compounded side effect. My brother is a big medical distributor. We deal with more than 20,000 medicine. And until today, there's not a single medicine that does not have side effect. They are drugs, basically. My danger is, if you keep taking something every day for the rest of your life, the side effect get compounded. But what it will cause, we do not know. But if you take it once in a while, maybe not so what. So like I give an example, if you were to take vaccine every month, I don't know what kind of side effect that we will get. Sometimes you have to relate to what kind of medication are they taking. So I tend to like to meet elderly people, and when the first thing I ask when I see them, the mind who is very sharp, or the mind that is first thing I'll ask, are you taking any long-term medication? So far, the correlation is very strong because I have personally experienced memory loss. So, but I'm not a doctor. Don't take my advice. Do your own research. So just be aware that all Western medication, there is a side effect. But if you take it moderately, it's fine. It's something that you take every day, then probably you have to do your own research.
Thank you, Frank, for your answers and questions asked from the floor. We thank every one of you for today's session, this session.